Falkenrath. Richard is a principal of the Chertoff Group, senior fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations. He was a member of the National Security Council under President George W. Bush. Richard, good to see you this morning. It's an amazing story, what's happened in Libya, but it's not over. So to the degree that America is involved and the West is involved, what are the short-term risks? What could go wrong?
Well, a lot of different things can go wrong, and it certainly is not over. This is a country with absolutely no legitimate civic institutions to maintain the normal attributes of a functioning society. So there will be lawlessness, there will be looting, there may be rioting. There's likely to be reprisal killings. Who knows how many scores need to be settled in this city and in this country now that the power regime of Gaddafi is gone. There will be property disputes. People will try to take money out of the country, physical assets out of the country, because they know they're likely to lose them. And there will be, behind the scenes, a major struggle for the big question: who controls the country and who controls the oil wealth?
Well, we've been talking about the oil wealth and how long it's going to take to get Libyan oil production back online at full capacity. To what degree do these instabilities you speak of put that under threat, jeopardize the Libyan oil industry perhaps for much longer than people are speculating at the moment?
Well, whoever comes to power eventually in Libya, and we have no idea who that will be or how long it will take, will want to get the oil pumping again to get the revenues in. And so, but what has to happen first is that power struggle has to be resolved, because the national oil company has been controlled by the Gaddafi regime. They are now gone. Whoever controls that national oil company controls the wealth of the country. And therefore, behind the scenes, there will be the struggle for who controls it. Once that's sorted out, then you can begin to do the deals with the actual operators for the plants, mostly European oil firms, to come back in and begin operations. They then will take a matter of months to bring the pumps back online.
Is it so uncertain that you can't even say it's a given at this point that whoever ends up in control, and notwithstanding all the help that they've received from the Europeans and the Americans, will necessarily be friendly towards, quote-unquote, us?
By no means certain they will be friendly to us. This could be a completely different regime, one that comes to power for internal reasons, not because of external support, and whose international and particularly domestic policies are not at all to our liking. We are not on the ground there. We do not have boots on the ground. This has been a air power-driven campaign focused mostly on the eastern tribes around Benghazi, not the western tribes in the mountains. And who knows if our interlocutors in that war will be the ones who ultimately come to power.
President Obama, in I believe his most recent statement on Libya, said Muammar Gaddafi's rule has come to an end. We've been making much of the fact, and so have others, of the fact that the president really isn't getting a whole lot of credit for this foreign policy victory. But perhaps should we look at it another way, that this was a policy victory, however unrecognized, we got for cheap, right? Less than $1 billion, no dead bodies, and we didn't even have to take the lead. The French and the British took the lead.
Yeah, it certainly could have been worse. I mean, we could have had lost aircraft, we could have spent a lot more money, but we don't know how it's going to turn out yet. This still can turn into a disaster, to a debacle in some way, but clearly everyone thought that to deal with a major international crisis like Libya, the U.S. had to be out front, had to be leading the international diplomatic and military effort, and he didn't. He let the French and the British, and to a certain extent the African Union, do that. Led from behind. A lot of the foreign policy cognoscenti thought this would not work. This is not the way things have been done in the past. Maybe they will pull this one off.
Well, we'll have to see. Richard, always great to see you. Richard Falkenrath, a principal of the Chertoff Group. He's a contributing editor here at Bloomberg with some insights on Libya, and it is pretty clear from Richard's expertise that there are so many unanswered questions while people celebrate in the streets of Tripoli. When we come back, the NBA stands